welcome to a bonus episode of How We Made Your Mother. I'm Josh Radner. I'm here with my friend, Craig Thomas.
Hello, very happy to be here.
Hello, Craig. Always great to see you. Our producer extraordinaire, Alec Lev, is with us. And these episodes we're calling General Questions. General Questions. These are questions we get from all over, from our Substack page, from Instagram when Alec posts questions about, send us your questions about specific episodes. So these are questions about episode 4, Return of the Shirt. Is that right, Alec?
That's correct.
All right.
That's correct. We should probably discuss what saluting is. I think the key to it is the part where it comes up to you. It's not the letting it go. I think it's more about this.
You don't know.
You know what?
You didn't serve in the army. You're not. Come on. You can't.
Just because you invented the bit doesn't mean you own the bit.
It's exactly what it means.
It's because you invented the bit. You want to. You know.
But
what?
I do think we should work on our rhythm.
I
do think we should work on our rhythm. So when I say general questions.
General questions.
But let's try to link it up. General
Craig,
questions.
why don't you say both words? Say general questions.
I did.
Do you not? You did? Be louder.
Jesus, Alec.
Jesus Christ.
This is a
Someone's
special...
proprietary over your bit. You're very proprietary over your bit. You gotta...
These are episodes we're calling General Questions.
General questions.
All right, that was closer. So you can also go to howwemadeyyourmother.com. Go to contact. Tell us your story. You can write it, but we would love it if you would record it. Tell us what How I Met Your Mother means to you. And also any questions you might have about upcoming episodes. We really want this to be a fan-centered show. We want to interact with you. We want to hear from you. Your burning questions and your observations and why you keep watching the show. And if you're watching for the first time and something trips you up, ask us.
And so this week I put out some, let's call them instructions, best practices for getting your question into general questions here.
General questions.
See,
we got to stand our toes.
We're trying to avoid yes or no questions, right? We have a lot of time here. We want to talk about things. We're trying to avoid too much, I guess you'd call it writing, right? Like, hey, would Ted like pepperoni or cheese pizza more? We're not sort of diving back into retelling stories, but people had great questions. I really encourage people to ask the big questions, right? They tell us the big stories about their lives. We're interested in the big questions. We're interested also about production itself, what happened. So I just want to shout out Beerit Adults, who just simply said, "Tell us everything, please," which I thought was lovely and a good start to the whole evening. Okay, Liv Bumpus from Instagram says, obviously, after all these years, Josh, you and the gang know each other so well. As you're rewatching, is it strange to watch yourself interact with everyone before you actually knew them well?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. That kind of like scrambles my brain a little bit. I mean,
yeah.
I guess by the fourth episode in Actorland, you kind of feel like you do know each other well. Actors have an ability, I think, sometimes to their detriment, but I would call it intimacy. Where you can kind of approximate intimacy rather quickly. It's why actors can fall in love very quickly on set, but you can also become best friends very quickly or arch enemies very quickly. And I think by this episode, I kind of felt like I knew these people. I knew Neil before because we had done a play together. So by the time we were even shooting the pilot, I felt like I knew him. And it's nothing compared to what you feel by the 9th season when you really know people.
Right.
But I think the other thing is we were playing people who really knew each other well. So even though Barney and Robin were newer additions to the gang, me, Ali, and Jason were approximating a relationship that was 10 years old at that point. We met at freshman year of college. So I think that it's hard to say. I think part of the job of the actor is to approximate the intimacy and the closeness and the longevity of the relationship, whatever it is, even though you just got hired and got thrown together on a soundstage. But I don't think it's something that I thought much about until this question. So I'm riffing. That's what I got.
That's great. Peter_Stewart29 says, I presume wardrobe was a large part of the show, and the shirt chosen as the shirt must have been part of the process. Just wondering how much input did you both have on clothing choices throughout the rest of the show? A good chance to just talk about costume design a little bit.
Josh, in this episode, I'm curious. Do you remember if a bunch of shirts were brought to you and you helped choose like this sort of distinctive, slightly weird one?
I have a vague memory of coming in and having like 5 or 6 shirts there, and then I remember you try them all on. And the right one just kind of announces itself. I think we picked that shirt because it felt like a shirt that he wouldn't normally wear or gravitate to.
Yeah.
But it looked like it maybe was in the world of what he might have bought one random day at whatever store. But I think they would always take Polaroids of you and then they would send them to you, right? Like you would look over the costume choices. And how rigorous were you with the costumes? Would you ding some stuff or were you just like fine?
We ding stuff sometimes. And Pam would, our wonderful director, Pam Fryman, she always had an eye on like, does that make sense? Is that character? And like, and if you guys ever said something, that always meant a lot to me. Like I would always side with like, yeah, you need to feel it. You need to feel it on your body. Like so that's why I figured you were part of choosing that shirt. I think Carter might have been on set that week. Not me. Carter and I traded off who was where when running the show. And so I don't think I was part of that choice, but I'm sure it was agonized over. I'm sure there were half a dozen shirts and there were discussions and debates about why that one.
There's that kind of thing where your fashion choices are, I have a pretty narrow band of like, I just wear kind of the same thing all the time. But like, if I do wear something like a little bit different, like I do kind of walk around expecting people to say hot top, bro. Or like to acknowledge like, look at this. This is new. I wore a tie-dye cardigan last week. And it's something I kick around the house. Jordana wears it a lot. But I never have worn it publicly. And I was shocked that you guys weren't like, hot top, bro. But if you want to see me in my tie-dye cardigan, which I love.
By the way, retroactive hot top, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Many days late. But that shirt was a good choice because it did look notable on him, right? He wears it that whole episode and it feels like a little wrong, like not quite him, like he's trying to force it. It had to metaphorically be, I'm slightly forcing this thing that isn't meant to be, right? Because that was the metaphor.
It looked like a guy who was like, they're going to someplace fancy and maybe a club, but he doesn't know how to quite dress for it. So he's like, this is nice enough, right? Yeah. Like it was like a little upgrade.
And like it's that thing you put on, you're like, this is nice, right?
Right.
Like you're not confident. It's like it's and you obviously come in and do right. You get on board with it, but he's sort of convincing himself about it because it is kind of a weird shirt, right? It does kind of jump out a little bit. He doesn't feel totally comfortable in it, which is the point of the episode. So
right, like if it was a shirt that you just look at and you're like, that is a great shirt, the whole episode kind of doesn't work. Like it should be a thing that you're like you're drawn to it, but ultimately it's not for you.
It's slightly off and eye-catching, and you can't decide if it's eye-catching in a good way or a bad way, and the answer is it's kind of both.
Right.
So I think we nailed the shirt choice in that one, actually, in that regard.
This goes a little bit to the flow of the production week, which we started to talk about last week. But Craig, how many days does the whole crew, but let's just talk about costumes right now. How many days do they have between getting the script and needing to have this thing ready to go?
We would distribute the outline at a certain stage to production so they could sort of flag what some production needs would be. And they would have known way ahead of time, like there's a really featured shirt. The episode's also called Return of the Shirt. So that's a heads up. But things like that, you sort of flag them as early as you could. So there might be a couple weeks, there might be even a few weeks. But sometimes you have a completely last minute idea. That's the rewrite you're doing for the episode that shoots Wednesday morning and it's Tuesday night at midnight. And we had this amazing crack production crew and staff that could make that happen. But yeah, with this, where this was the idea the whole time, they would have had a little bit of lead time. So I'm sure like they were selecting a batch of shirts. But yeah, I mean, the answer is it just varies wildly. And it's both. In one episode, it could be they knew one part of it for many weeks, and then we came up with something at midnight on Tuesday, and they had to get it by Wednesday at 11 a.m. when we shot it. So it's all of the above. That's what made it so chaotic and great.
And I wrote you this little ditty to sing to you in New York City.
Greg, summer's approaching.
It sure is.
Can you feel it?
It's in the air.
Though, like, the weather's been confusing in New York, right?
Very confusing.
No idea. Take an umbrella, don't take an umbrella. What jacket?
Yellow umbrella, no yellow umbrella. It's a whole thing.
So, as summer is approaching, my schedule starts clearing up around July. The missus, is that what I call my wife these days? The missus?
Oh my God. I've never heard you use that term. Is it 1953 already?
I think so.
the little woman?
So. The little lady. I'm going to take her overseas.
Really? This is also very old-timey speak, by the way. Overseas?
Yeah.
Are you going to take a steamer cruise?
Well, we're going to, whatever. I'm going to wear a 3-piece suit on the plane. I'll tell you that much. I dress up for travel.
The twin prop plane? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to Fantasy Island. No, we're considering. Tell me what you think about these destinations. We're considering Portugal. Have you ever been to Portugal?
I've never been. I hear it's amazing.
Okay.
I have nothing to offer you though. All I can say is it's amazing.
Maybe a little time in Mallorca, where I was in Dea, the only town I was in, but Mallorca has some beautiful places, beaches. Sardinia. Do you know anything about Sardinia?
See, that's cool. Has the missus been to Mallorca? Has the missus been there? Because it's nice to take her somewhere you know a little bit and you take her around.
Well, I only know this one town, but we might do a couple days with friends, maybe in Mallorca, and then pop over to this little sleepy beachside place in Portugal, and then spend a couple days in Lisbon, and then head home.
Okay. I'll come. This is all leading to you asking me to come.
This is awkward.
Or is this?
This was not.
Is there another motive
invitation.
to this conversation?
No, I just wanted to hash it out with you. It's my friend, but now
this
I have
is really
to.
Uncomfortable. Really
now I have
weird.
to say stop inviting yourself on my vacations with my wife. It's just there's only space on the steamer for me and the missus.
Okay, fine. Well, you know what? Listen to this though. I have an idea. Even though you completely iced me out just now and kind of broke my heart on camera while it's being recorded, I will say this much. What is happening to your place while you're away?
What do you mean? My place is just sitting here, just collecting dust and cobwebs.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
Josh, you are missing a huge opportunity here, my friend.
Really? Tell me.
Huge opportunity. It. 2 opportunities. One is inviting me along on the vacation. Opportunity 2 is while you're away, you can make a little extra cash by hosting your place on Airbnb.
That sounds like a great idea. The former one about you coming with us, I'm not so fond of.
Let's settle down that. Okay. Well, maybe I'll Airbnb your place while you're away, so I'll at least feel close to you.
Oh my God, that would be so.
I'll be the guy.
Would you use a fake name? Would you you come in with like a bad mustache and wig?
Yeah. Not Craig Thomas.
I know that's you.
That's my alias is not Craig Thomas.
Greg Tomas.
Greg Tomas. Yes, from Portugal.
Well, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
Well, heeding the call for a big question and really getting into the concept, Josh, you had of this show originally, which is let's take the themes of this show and see where they spin us. Da_Matthew654 says, on this episode, Ted reconnects with Natalie, thinking it was a mistake to break up with her, only to break her heart again. Do you think nostalgia makes us see past relationships in a better light than they actually were?
I worked with this playwright years ago named Richard Greenberg, who's a great, great writer. And he had this quote that I always think about when I think about nostalgia. He says, nostalgia is simply a longing for a time we know we can survive.
Great line. That's the whole show. In a way, that's what How I Met Your Mother is.
Yeah.
Right? That's the
Yeah. And I think the reason we're nostalgic for the past is because we made it through. And the future, I mean, think about it. Like the 1980s, we thought we were going to die in a nuclear holocaust. Like was a very real feeling.
Yes.
And now you look back at the 80s and you just think about like Thriller and Cyndi Lauper. You know what I mean? Like aerobics. Like you just think about the decade.
Yeah.
And then like Y2K, like every generation has its kind of like apocalyptic dread kind of just woven in.
Yeah.
But we don't know if we're going to get out of this one. But if we do, 2050, we're going to look back at 2025 and be like, a simpler time. It was a simpler time, wasn't it? It was a great time to raise children. You know?
Oh my God. 2050 is going to fucking suck, apparently.
But that's the thing, is like our brains do this weird thing, this kind of like, it was easier back then. It was better back then.
Yeah.
And I think Ted in this episode is like, I can't figure out this moving forward thing. I don't like meeting new people and having to tell them all the old stories. Like, you know that thing when you're dating, not you, Craig, but that thing when you're dating and you're like, oh my God, I have to tell this woman all of the stories and like about my parents and
right?
like like you wish you could have like a chip you could just like inject into their neck and they would just download all the stories so you could just like move on. But it's like a new
Matrix
therapist.
Kung Fu thing. It's like
you just have to
like, I know all Josh's anecdotes.
Yeah.
All right, caught up. Right?
Oh, God forbid they know all the anecdotes. But I think there's something about, okay, I know what that's like. And I think when we're scared, we yearn for the familiar. You know?
Yes.
We yearn for comfort.
I love that observation about this episode. That is what the episode is. And we don't explicitly state it. Maybe we could have stated it even more explicitly. But the drive to, I want to go back to something because I already had done the work. The jar was loosened there, right? There's something to go back to. That's sort of Ted's secret drive in that episode, right? I don't want to have to re-explain myself to anyone.
And also, I think kind of what we were talking about, like he really put his heart out there with Rob and it got stomped. And now he's like, you know what? I did take a big risk with someone new. So why don't I go back to, I mean, Ted does have, there's a runner where he likes cozy things, you know, he likes he likes the paper. He likes a certain coffee shop or bagel shop. Like there's all these things that he just like, he likes the familiarity and the roteness of certain things.
Yeah, it's interesting. In episode 3 and episode 4, there's two in a row where he's clinging to something. Like he just wants to go to his normal bar, right? And Barney says you're stuck in a rut and breaks him out of that. And in this one, he's like, I want to go back. I want to go back to something that should have worked and that is safer than the new. And it's consistent episode to episode. It's a good little 2-episode arc there. I never thought of it quite that way.
There's a book called Remember by Lisa Geneva. And it talks about the sort of the science of memory. And I'm fascinated by one thing where she talks about, we expect that memory, we look at memory as, I can just go play the film from August 22nd, such and such a day. That's not memory at all. You're not just on record all the time. You have to make memories. And you make memories from first kisses to 9/11, right? Things that are just going to clearly stay with you. You also make memories from speaking about them over and over and over, telling stories about this. And the notion of a good memory, like a clear memory about something is, good luck, right? You're immediately adding things to it. And so, right, I think when you're going back to an old relationship or to an old time, you're not going back to it. You're going to your current version of it, which is as good as you can do. I mean, right now I'm writing this stuff about my father who passed away when I was 17, and I'm much more interested in what I think happened than what actually happened, than what he was actually like, because that doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. When I write something about what my mother did or what his brother did, I don't go and fact check it, because who cares? Yeah. It's where it landed with me now. That's is the only current reality.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're all unreliable narrators. Yes. Like every single one of us is an unreliable narrator. And it also begs the question, and I've seen people ask about this, and this is a larger, more global How I Met Your Mother question, is what we're watching in the quote unquote present day, is that the story that Ted is telling the children, or is it what really happened and he's sanitizing the story? Are we getting the unfiltered, unvarnished version, and he's telling his kids a much more abridged, abbreviated version? Because it makes me think it's the latter, because he says things like sandwiches, and he tries to protect them from some of the more grown-up aspects of the deal. So what do you think, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. I think it toggles back and forth at our convenience when it serves the joke or the moment. But yeah, I think he's telling condensed versions, and we, the audience, are kind of going in to inhabit more of that story. We're sort of transported. He opened the door for us, and we get to see things that aren't literally in the story.
And presumably because the kids don't change, they don't have a costume change. And you guys made the joke at Comic-Con that they've been held in the basement for like years.
Yeah. We shot a special thing once they were older at the end of the show.
But presumably this is just one long afternoon of tale telling, right?
In theory, yeah. It's Scheherazade, right? It's like this is this endless, like, the story just keeps going. And yeah, he's not literally telling every beat of everything that happens in every episode. That would be impossible. But of course, the whole thing is kind of impossible anyway.
But I love this idea that memory is not certainly not an infallible thing. Although there is a syndrome. I think Mary Lou Henner, the actress, has this where she has like perfect memory. Do you know about this, Alex?
I do. It's in the book. They talk all about her in this book. You give her a date. She could tell you where she was, what she was wearing. It's stunning. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I don't have that. I do notice though, and I think this is part of where Barney is, the angel quality of Barney that we've been talking about. Certainly his devil qualities are like much in evidence, but his angel quality is he does encourage, especially Ted, to step into novelty and make memories, because you don't remember an average night drinking in the bar with your friends, but you do remember licking a Liberty Bell in Philly.
Yeah.
So the things that you cited, Alec, like are first kisses, 9/11, like those are things that were wildly out of the ordinary or you weren't expecting to happen, good, bad, all these things.
Yeah.
So I do think our memory gets much more emblazoned when something new or novel happens.
Right. Yeah. I just I saw Hamilton again. I took my kids to see Hamilton, and the characters in that are so aware that they're making history. History has its eyes on you. They're so aware they're making history. And I thought of Barney while I was watching it, because Barney is like, history has its eyes on me. I have to live every night. Every night has to be legendary. People are going to talk about this. And it's hilarious that he thinks he's like that important, like the founding fathers and him sort of
founding brothers,
the founding brothers. And that is Barney's angel quality, because it's true. Most nights are forgettable, right? Most days are forgettable. What are the things that stand out? Well, Barney made those things stand out, and that's what the show is about. That's the purpose Barney serves to Ted.
Dead_end_robot. Dead End Robot says the music in Himium is very specific and very obscure. I'd love to know your thoughts on the music, if you have any favorite songs, bands from the show. Also, Josh, you being a musician, I wonder who your influences are. So never a bad time to talk about music. As the show is getting started here, Craig, you talk a little bit about how it played a part, and then Josh, you being a musician, I wonder who your influences are.
Yeah, I mean, well, Carter and I met by playing in bands together in college, and then we started writing songs together, and then we started writing comedy together. So music was the beginning of how Carter and I started working together, and we kept doing that. All the silly songs on the show, we wrote those, and we often handpicked like featured songs on the show. We also had an amazing music supervisor, Andy Gowan, and obviously our composer, John Swihart, wrote all this original music for the show, and Brian Kim. So everybody who worked on the show knew how important music was to us. Right away here in episode 4, Return of the Shirt, we were very much featuring Belle and Sebastian, featuring this song I love called We Rule the School, and talking about Belle and Sebastian on the show and calling them out. And I was so happy for Belle and Sebastian that they would make money because we liked them. Then they get paid each time this episode is rerun. They're still getting some kind of check from being on the show. And I always hoped that would lead to me becoming best friends with them. And spoilers, that did not happen. But if they're listening, I really want to hang out sometime. We did. Carter and I both loved a lot of the same music, and it turned out that connected so much with Josh, who was not a songwriter at that time, but had an amazing taste in music. And you would make us mixes, Josh. You would pitch us songs that got onto the show. We seem to all love like melodic, thoughtful, well-written, like really writerly songs, like where the lyrics are very beautiful and interesting and kind of catch your ear in a different way. And it just, this episode is how I learned that you also love Belle and Sebastian. And I was like, thank God Ted loves Belle and Sebastian. Thank God our Ted, who we cast, is this guy, Josh Radnor, who we all both love music. And we're obsessive about music, right? We talked about music all the time. And so I'd say it's hugely important in the show.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were great also about, I pitched you Cloud Cult, who are my friends. We used You Were Born. J May, my friend, I got her song on a show by playing it for you guys. A couple others maybe, but I don't think the songs were that obscure. Like a couple of them were just like indie gems that maybe Andy Gowan scooped or you or I scooped. But, the Shins, Band of Horses, Belle and Sebastian, like there were a lot of heavy hitters, but maybe more from the indie world.
Yeah.
And I think you're right that the world of How I Met Your Mother music, Andy Gowan also was the music soup on both my movies. Great dude, fantastic taste in music. Yeah. But I think it was more like the music was inspired by the themes of the show. It was like literate, thoughtful, funny, clever, ironic,
Yeah. And how music and memory are so intertwined.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Very
in this episode, that's what it is. Right?
Yeah.
That song. He wants to go back into that song. He wants to climb back into that Belle and Sebastian song and feel that magic again.
They're the kind of songs that soundtrack your life.
Yeah. The soundtrack of your life.
That you're wistful and as the scenery rolls by when you're on a train or something, and you're thinking about things. As far as my songwriting goes or my influences, they're so vast. I'm actually going to be on this podcast where I had to pick 7 songs that represent 7 phases of my life. And it was a fascinating thought experiment. But I have some all-timers like Damien Rice's album O, Joni Mitchell's album Blue. I grew up in a house with a lot of like John Denver and Barry Manilow and Jim Croce and Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel and classical and show tunes, like just all over the place. So my thing is, like you said, Craig, like I just love good melody and smart lyrics. Like I want to be told a story in a song.
And the songs become part of our story. And all of us, when we talk about memories, we can hear the songs of that chapter in our life. And a song, I think almost maybe a smell can do this too, but a song can transport you back in time more than anything, like a magic trick level transportation for your brain. And I think that's why music's important to this show. That is this, time travel backwards into this life before his kids. And he wants to share what life was like. And music is part of that.
Our friend Joel Viertel always had a theory that he's never tested out, but he said if you're in the middle of something that you absolutely love, you just love this time in your life, you love this trip, he said quickly go put on a song and play it a few times so that later on that song can bring you back to this place. I love this thing. And also, Craig, you and I wrote some songs together. We could talk about Architecture Studio one.
We wrote some very stupid songs together in college.
This is a question for me. Though the person didn't know it was. So
look at how giddy you are that there's a question for you. You look like fucking Christmas morning right now. Look at
so they didn't know it was, but Craig, this is something about the show. Bri For You Go says, This isn't specifically about the Return of the Shirt episode, though I absolutely love all the sock monkeys in it. I found it hilarious. I just wanted to ask why all the websites the creators made were taken down and ask if you knew about them, what your involvement or knowledge was about them. As an 18-year-old, I found out they used to exist, but none of them work anymore, except Barney's blog, which may or may not be real. I don't know what that is. And the GNP website. I was so sad. I wanted to see them so bad. So, Craig, you want to talk a little bit about?
Okay. I think the only thing to say here is we should call the studio and ask, because I think the studio had bought these domain names and probably they ran out and expired and the studio changed hands, right? Like it's like a different ownership. And like, so I don't know. I just think we lost track of keeping those alive. And I regret it. They should be out.
They should put them all up. They should open source them like Wikipedia and let How I Met Your Mother fans run the Goliath National Bank website, Barney's blog, all the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can make a side quest of getting this accomplished at some point. You're right. These should exist. Brilliant observation. All I can say is sorry. Maybe we can get them back. I don't know.
They would appear in the script and either you would come to me or me and Jesse, who worked with me, who's your brother-in-law, or we would come to you and say, hey, we can really do this website. We'd build this little website thing. We'd ask 20th to get the URL. And
Alex, side quest. We have to do this. We have to get these back.
Do you know what else? I feel
we suck.
I feel like it's still like somewhat relatively early days of internet in some ways, like 2005, 6, 7.
Oh yeah.
Like we were one of the first shows doing this, like where you would drop the name of a website and then people would know, kind of wink, wink, that to go to it.
You're supposed to go to it and there will be something there. And we would often work very hard generating the content to put on there. And we were proud of it. Like there was good stuff on there, and it gave this feeling like a secret handshake with the fans, and the feeling that the universe of the show exists in the world. We were really proud of that stuff, and I would love to get.
For a brief moment there, I think it was in season 9, we made a website that was a collection of all the websites, because
really, we got to dig into this a little bit.
It's dead and gone. I mean,
we can bring it back. We can resurrect it. Wasn't there something in this episode of Return of the Shirt too, where Ted say in some slightly awkward way, like the clip is going viral on the internet or something?
He says, "I have the internet on my phone.
I have internet on my phone now.
I have internet on my phone." That is very 2005.
I love seeing also the trio. He pulls out his trio.
His trio.
To make the call.
Oh my God, his trio. Oh my God, my phone gets internet now. That was it. Oh, it's so sad. Okay.
Okay, so this last question here, Opa, is the first of the going back and asking about something you wrote that maybe you would do differently now. We've sort of hinted at, we're going to talk about those things. Mm-hmm. Maybe just sort of get the conversation started now. Obviously, if you're going to write comedy with a thought to, will this be funny in 20 years, there will be no more comedy writing. But Ryan Levy says, how would you reflect on the beat up by a girl comment at the end? Felt like a pretty diabolical punchline to me.
Yeah, I don't love it. I think in general we will talk about some clunkers that didn't age well. There's way worse ones than that. But that idea, I don't think we would write it that way today. I have a little 9-year-old daughter who takes Taekwondo and is really good at it. She's almost 9, and she's like a little green belt in Taekwondo, and she is fierce. She could absolutely kick my ass. I think she's trying to teach me how to do it, and I feel like she could defeat me. So the idea of doing a joke like that just rings so differently in my ears now, and it feels a little 20 years ago. It feels a little my phone has internet now level, not aging great.
But I do think that the show was always sometimes explicitly, but more like implicitly, like asking questions about gender. Like, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman?
We showed strong women and we showed the softer side of men all the time. So that's another reason that joke isn't great.
Who were kind of trying to work through some of the masculine script. I don't want to impose too much on this, but there's this kind of, I had said, I used to say that How I Met Your Mother was at its heart was like a kind of gender flip, right? You had Marshall and Ted being these incredibly sensitive guys who wanted to drink cocoa by the fire and be in relationships. And then you had these women who were much more kind of no nonsense, like cut to the chase, not very sentimental, Lily and Robin. Yeah. And then you had Barney, who was kind of this parody of hypermasculinity. So I think it was like trapped between two worlds in a way. And that's where some of the tension exists, but also some of the unfortunate kind of, it was a negotiation, right? Because you guys were also trying to negotiate with the network. Like you wanted to be like seen as a tough, cool show, but you also wanted to like put these vulnerable male characters, like you centered them, right? So it was always a tricky thing. Like you weren't exactly smashing the patriarchy, but you were doing something revolutionary in your own way.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to. That was definitely the aesthetic of the show, and it is a gender flip right away in the pilot. But Barney's Barney, right? Barney will say and do things that are different from what Ted and Marshall might say or do, and just like, Archie Bunker would say things on All in the Family that his daughter and her husband found reprehensible and racist and terrible. And Archie had to be Archie in that show, and Barney has to be Barney in this show. And not everybody is equally as evolved in the way they speak about things. And that, in that sense, like there's that weird thing of, if I'm being true to this character, they might say something like this, right?
Right.
But then if they say it too much and it feels like it's becoming literal, like it's the show's point of view,
right?
That's when it's bad. You want it to be the character's point of view, not the show's point of view.
But I do think there's a kind of modern tendency that's not always unfortunate, but sometimes unfortunate, which is the idea that if a character in a show says something reprehensible, it's the point of view of the show or the writers, and that's often not true at all. Like it's the opposite.
That's not how
right?
writing works.
That's not how writing works, right?
Like there'd be no great. Think about Shakespeare. Think of like
Shakespeare's like Iago. Like it makes no sense.
Every great work of art has a horrible character in it, or several, right?
And it should
have to say horrible things. It's an interesting. You're always trying to find that level where you seem like the show is not endorsing a bad thing, but you're also being true to who a character is, and that is a tough dance. I won't say we got it right every time. Sometimes you hope that your audience sees it the way you do, and maybe most of the audience does, but some percentage of it hears it as the literal endorsement by the show, as if the show's point of view is this. That's when I feel we fail a little bit. If too many people think that way, I think we didn't communicate it clearly enough. I think some of that happens sometimes with Barney and in other ways. But I like to think that, for example, with Barney, he mostly plays as a parody of something, not an endorsement of something. But I know that not everybody took it that way. That was the intention. That's all I can say.
All right, that's what I got for this week. Great questions. Great answers.
Thanks for those
questions.
Hey, Craig, you having a good time doing this podcast?
I'm having a really good time doing this podcast.
Alec, you having a good time doing this podcast?
I better be. It's all I do. It's
Well, I am, and we're so grateful. A lot of people are listening and writing in, and it just feels like we're getting to sit around a campfire and share these How I Met Your Mother stories. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for continuing to journey with us. We got a lot more to go, but it's been a blast. So thanks a lot.
I am guilty. Please acquit me. All sins are forgiven in New York City.
How We Made Your Mother is hosted and executive produced by Josh Radnor and Craig Thomas. The show is produced by me, Alec Lev, and our co-producer is Doug Matica. Our audio producer and mixer is Alex Reeves at Point of Blue Studios. Artwork by John Morrow. Please follow, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or your podcast player of choice. It really does help the show. Our theme song is NYC by our own Josh Radnor. Special thanks to Lola Kennedy and Elliot Connors. Visit howwemadeyourmother.com to sign up for our Substack mailing list and for links to our social media. You can also click on the contact page to send us an email or a voice message. Your stories and questions are an important part of the show. Subscribe to Josh Radnor's newsletters on Substack. Read Craig Thomas's published prose at craigthomaswriter.com. And you can subscribe to my Dead Fathers Society, also on Substack. To learn about how you make a difference, this show's ongoing campaign to raise money for congenital heart disease research, check out the Make a Difference tab at the top of our website. This episode was made possible by the support of Backyard Ventures, marketing provided by Tink Media. People will, in fact, dance.
The real question, it just hit me. Am I in love with you, or just New York City?